recording. Yeah.
Welcome. Recorded audience, okay. Before I forget, here's a list of in-auditorium programs coming up at the Maritime Museum, which is probably online on the museum's website. And it's a 2-page list. Next one might be whale skeleton procurement in North Carolina by Ben Wonderly. And I'm Keith, Rittmaster. I'd like to be called Keith, and I love questions. And you don't want to answer a question during the program, I'll stay as long as anyone wants to after the program. We can talk about some of the things I brought or answer questions. And can everyone hear me okay? Yeah. Oh, good. All right. Well, I'm gonna start then. Yep, I think I'm standing in the right place. Big shout out to Captain Mark, who's in our audience today, for his generosity and thoughtfulness to enable us to stream this. All right. Yes, a lot of people appreciate that, so thank you. If you haven't silenced your cell phone, it's a good time, or else you'll have to put $10 in the donation box if your phone makes noise. Okay, so I think if I power through this, very briefly, I'm going to touch on each of these topics, not quite in sequence, but just to give you an idea of where I'm headed with this presentation. And just 20 seconds of taxonomy. Whales, dolphins, and porpoise collectively we're in a taxonomic group cetacean. Now that's going to change, and it will probably change again, but now it's a word that I can hardly pronounce, Curator, which combines hoofed ungulates with whales, dolphins, and porpoises. The two subgroups, odontocetes or toothed whales and mysticetes or baleen whales, are the same, and I've just listed some of the groups in each of those. I'm only going to be talking about one species today. It's in the family Delphinidae. It's a bottlenose dolphin, Tursiops truncatus. It's the only species of whale, dolphin, or porpoise that you will see year-round from our beaches, docks, and piers are bottlenose dolphins. I don't care if you correct the person next to you who insists they are porpoises. I will address that question in time, but they are what we're seeing are bottlenose dolphins. Graphically, it looks like this. The taxonomic group, now it's Cetactiodactyla, but cetaceous in parentheses at the top. All the baleen whales, that lack teeth, are facing away from me. Around here, this time of year, we see humpback whales, occasionally right whales, and all the toothed whales are facing toward me. The biggest one on the top of the toothed whales is a sperm whale. All I'm going to be talking about is the one I circled there, bottlenose dolphin. And this poster is the same poster that's on display there. One of our locals. So when my girlfriend, future and current wife, moved here in the 70s, we were surfers and sailors. We had some, what we thought were really simple questions, like what are those things breathing air with dorsal fins? And are they here year round? And we couldn't get fishermen to agree if they were dolphins or porpoises, or if they're just here in the summer, just here in the winter, here year round. Scientists had the same struggle. There was really not much known about them. And so everything I present today is as a result of those little simple questions, and we haven't gotten some answers about what those things are. One of our locals, and I just want to highlight a few terms I'll be using. The tail, also called the flukes. I might use those terms interchangeably. Pectoral fins or flippers, we have 2 of them. Dorsal fin, you're about to hear more about a dorsal fin than you ever wanted. Blowhole, unlike you and I and terrestrial mammals, all the air exchanges through the blowhole. They cannot breathe through their mouths. Beak or rostrum are different terms for the tip of the snout. And the melon is an organ of soft fatty tissue that is between the blowhole and the rostrum. And the melon sits here. And I think most people agree that the primary purpose of the melon is to focus and amplify sound. And another picture of a bottlenose dolphin coming to the surface to take a deep breath of air. Dolphins were hunted here for most of 150 years. This shows the timing and some of the pictures of dolphins taken by net. I heard occasionally harpoons. This is another netting picture. This is from Hatteras around 1900. So if you wanted to learn more about this, it might be a little challenging because a lot of the historic and even some of the scientific literature refers to it as the porpoise fishery of North Carolina. And I just want to emphasize that they aren't porpoises and they aren't fish. So I might mix up my terms, but they're bottlenose dolphins is what they're capturing. And I've studied about 20 of these pictures and I found no sign of porpoises. So all those are bottlenose dolphins. A lot of products were derived, but by far most lucrative was the lower jaw oil. And this surprised me how lucrative it was. So right here at the museum, John Hare once told me that that's bottlenose dolphin lower jaw oil. John Hare asked me, Keith, what do you think was the most lucrative product in the entire global whaling industry? I said, spermaceti from a sperm whale. No. Blubber oil from right whales. No. He said the lower jaw oil from North Carolina's bottlenose dolphins, which surprised me. And so I was curious why. Why bottlenose dolphins? Why North Carolina? Why the lower jaw? I've got oil from the earth here, straight crude, unrefined. Got oil from a sperm whale head. I've got oil from a humpback whale. Kind of geeky about this. I put all these in the freezer. Everything turned solid except the lower jaw oil from a bottlenose dolphin. So when there's a demand, like for Swiss watches or typewriters or guns or aeronautical equipment, this is the oil you'd want that wouldn't turn thick in cold climates or cold conditions. So that created a huge demand. And just some of the processing and hunting camps for bottlenose dolphins, as you can see where I don't think my pointer works, right here in Beaufort. So we were sort of central area of the dolphin hunting. Swansboro, Fort Macon, Shackleford, and up to Hatteras. Live, presumably healthy bottlenose dolphin, what we like to see. One student said, is that its brains coming out? And so I just wanted to be clear that that is it's exhaling just before it comes to the surface. So those are air bubbles coming out of its blowhole. And to us, ever since the mid-80s, the dorsal fins have been like a fingerprint to us, and we've been going out on small boats and photographing dorsal fins. And I'm going, oh God, my gosh, many years, and we're learning a lot. But so this is Zephyr, a dolphin that has spent winters here, and we've documented Zephyr around Ocracoke in the summertime. I forget who that is in the lower right. This is a pair. This is probably our best known pair of dolphins, Onion and Butterfly. They wherever they were photographed. Yes. You identify individuals by the dorsal fins? Yeah, by the notches they acquire on their dorsal fins. Yeah, thanks. I didn't clarify that. So that's how we do it. So Onion and Butterfly, we first identified them, I think in the late 80s, but this is the first picture of them together. And since then, every picture that we've ever taken of them or anyone else has, they've been together. Almost breathing each other's breath, I mean, side by side. This is from 1992. This is 19 years later, and they're the same dolphins. What do you think their relationship is? Mom offspring, couple dudes, family, huh? What we're learning about wild dolphin societies is that the most long-lasting, enduring relationship is between adult males. Now, anyone would argue correctly that the strongest relationship would be between a mom and an offspring. And as far as we know, dads have nothing to do with raising them. All deadbeat dads don't even send checks. And the males pair up around adolescence and stick together for most or all of their life, or until one dies. And that's what we've been able to tell here. But that was also shown from long-term studies, primarily in Shark Bay, Australia, and Sarasota, Florida. The same thing that seems to appear here. So onion and butterfly are a couple old guys.
Do you think that's because they work together and rounding up the female mating?
A+ star. Yeah. Yeah, it's not unusual in mammal societies. I hear that when males are not a lot bigger or stronger or faster, more powerful than females, they team up to gain access for population. And that's what I think we're seeing here. It's really hard to tell in bottlenose dolphins, so it's studied a little bit better in primates. Yeah. And so onion and butterfly, this is the only data slides I'm going to show. I just have 3 of these just to illustrate that this dolphin, that photo is from April 1990. The one on the right is from January of 2010. I can go on because we have a long history. The blue squares are when we photographed onion and butterfly and their group around Beaufort. The white squares are where we haven't. We're on the water every month of the year. We've been on the water every month of the year just about since 1991. So you can see why we might call onion and his group winter dolphins. It's butterfly. I mean, it's keyhole. So it must be summertime in Beaufort because keyhole is a summer dolphin. And keyhole sighting pattern is just the opposite of what I just showed you. We're mostly in the warm water months and absent from the cool water months. And if I put those 2 graphs side by side, you can see, or maybe you can piece together one of the things that we've learned. We could not have learned this without photo ID. We have dolphins that are here in the winter. In general, they are gone before the summer dolphins show up, that leave before the winter dolphins show up. So as a result, we do have dolphins year round. As far as I can tell, they're not the same individuals. And by collaborating up and down the coast, it's becoming pretty exciting because we're learning where these dolphins go when they're not here. Questions or comments about?
So where do they go when?
Hold that thought. And what were you saying? Did you have the same question? Okay. I'll get to that. Don't let me miss it. Skip it. I got a call from Karen Clark up in Kill Devil Hills, and she said, Keith, I got this picture of a dead dolphin on the beach. I heard it has some distinct dorsal fin. Stand by, I'm going to send you a picture. And this is another photo that she got initially sent. I can tell it's an old dolphin because all the teeth are worn down and some are missing. It's a skinny dolphin, really skinny. This is not a obviously it's a dead dolphin, but it died slowly and starved, it looks like. The dorsal fin, no question about it, is Onion's life mate butterfly. And that's all we needed to know to see. And in butterfly's stomach was pieces of monofilament fishing net. Here we are in Beaufort. You can see it labeled. Most of our matches, we have several hundred matches with other sites up and down the East Coast. Most of our winter dolphins that we've matched are around Riceville Beach in the summertime. And seems to be a migratory endpoint in the wintertime. Most of our, I just said it wrong. Most of our summer dolphins go to Wrightsville Beach area in the wintertime, and then they come back in the summertime. It's not much of a migration. It's demonstrated by that bold arrow. Most of the winter dolphins that are here now that we've matched with other sites are matched with the Nag's Head Dolphin Watch in Roanoke Sound near Manteo and the Virginia Aquarium group. They seem to split up. Virginia Aquarium has a group of dolphins that they recognize year after year. I'm oversimplifying just a little bit, but we're still learning. And the Nag's Head Dolphin Watch have dolphins they know really well, like onion and butterfly. They know really well because that's the migratory endpoint for them, we think. So those two groups from Virginia and Nag's Head come to Beaufort. This seems to be a migratory endpoint for them, and they meet up in the wintertime here and then split up in the summer. I don't know why. And it's really not that long of a migration, but it's fairly predictable. I hope that made sense.
I think it's because of the fact that I know that what is it called? The water that comes up and goes out to sea. Gulf Stream. In the winter, would they go up a little further and north to get in the little cooler water? Because I'm from Pennsylvania and I know that we wait until almost June or July to get warm weather in the ocean.
Yeah, I wonder too. I just don't know. I mean, I've seen dolphins swimming around ice here. You know, in the late 80s, we had a couple really cold winters, and the same bottlenose dolphins were swimming around ice in Beck Sound. So I'm not sure how much water temperature. You know, what else could affect it? Prey, predators, food. We're trying to think of what really drives this. Avoiding something that we don't understand, looking for mates. There's a lot of possibilities. And quite frankly, I don't know the answer. Oh, this is the very first dolphin we ever identified. Cuddy and a newborn baby. So I think we've documented Cuddy through 8 births. She had since 1985. The first photo in our catalog, 1985, Cuddy and a newborn. We've documented her with 7 subsequent newborns. And this is one of our local summer dolphins. And last year, her newborn was entangled. And this is very sad. And there's no question about it. That is Cuddy. And we looked, we were thinking, trying to see if we could mount a rescue, and we never saw Cuddy or the newborn again. Still looking. But entanglement is probably the #1 cause of death that we can determine when we determine causes of death of these beach cats, bottlenose dolphins, which I'll mention more about in a second. Okay, this is a dorsal fin of a dead stranded dolphin. They're much easier to photograph. A couple things. These scratches, that's caused by tooth rakes of other bottlenose dolphins. I've seen it in the wild, seen it in captivity. I don't know what it's about. I don't know if it's communication or aggression, but they literally pull flesh off each other with their teeth. Flippers, tail, and I've never seen an adult dolphin that didn't have a lot of tooth break marks on it. Not from orcas, not from sharks, occasionally, but mostly bottlenose dolphin tooth rakes. That's the source of a lot of the notches we use for photo ID. And these things are barnacles, soft barnacles called xenobalanus. Xeno for a foreigner or traveler, balanus for whale, and they attack on the dorsal fins. If we learn more about these barnacles, we'll learn more about our dolphins. Some individuals have them more than others. They make photo ID frustrating because sometimes they obscure an otherwise distinct notch that would be used to identify the dolphin. But if you see dolphins swimming around, particularly in the ocean, less so in the estuary, with these tassels, looks like dreads or something, that's what you're looking at, these soft barnacles that grow. And this is the more than you ever wanted to know about a dorsal fin part. What does a dorsal fin do for a bottlenose dolphin? Any guesses? One shy.
Steering.
Steering, I'll go along with that, would you say? Steering, yeah, keep maybe a straight direction or steering, maybe stability. Folks at UNC Wilmington, Ann Paps and Bill McClellan have traced out a lot of the circulatory system, and they have taught us this. I can look at that dolphin and tell you that it is conserving heat because the veins just under the skin are collapsed. There is no blood in them. If this were a warm dolphin wanting to dump heat, just like your dog's ears, it'll get warm and dump heat through its extremity, in this case, a dorsal fin. The dorsal fin has no bones or muscle, but a lot of blood vessels. And I'm gonna go into this just a little deeper. Imagine I cut the dorsal fin off this dolphin and we're looking straight down at the body. That's what we would see. Near the surface, just under the skin, are veins. Down the center of the dorsal fin are arteries surrounded by veins, and this shows a close-up of it. And when a dolphin is getting rid of heat, the blood will go out up the dorsal fin through the artery and return in the veins, and the veins would be filled. Or if it's conserving heat, like this one, the blood would return to the body in the veins around the artery, and those would be enlarged. Wow. What's up with that? So as much as anything, it's a heat exchanger. It gets crazier because they have traced all those cooled blood veins leaving the dorsal fin. And in males, they wrap around the testes because we males can't produce viable sperm at body temperature. They don't have scrotums. They cool their testes with this cooled blood. In females, those veins coming from the dorsal fin wrap around the uterus because temperature control is critical for developing fetus. This is the real thing. A dorsal fin from a dead bottlenose dolphin, very fresh, cut it off. I'm going to blow up that area. And now you can see precisely what you saw graphically. The artery in the center, surrounded by veins, and then the veins closer to the skin. I hope that makes sense. That might be about as geeky as I'll get today. My friend Forrest Towns is a veterinarian. He x-rayed a dolphin dorsal fin for me to demonstrate what I was trying to describe here. No bones, and very vascular. And he wanted to demonstrate how much like a human arm a dolphin's flipper is, where they both have the upper arm bone is the humerus, radius and ulna, and 5 digits. In a bottlenose dolphin, closer to me on the left, and a human on the right. Bottlenose dolphins, sometimes they play rough. And this one facing us, this is off Beaufort Banks, that's Shackford in the background, is about to deliver a 6-foot body slam to the one in the water, and he did land right on it. And he weighs probably 300 pounds, and that might be enough to kill any one of us. And that's not unusual. There's a lot of body contact, and I really don't understand the context for most of it. But when one dolphin is in the air, usually there's several in the air, and it seems like the same individuals keep jumping, as opposed to taking turns jumping. But it's always fun to see it. What's that besides a happy fisherman? Yeah, it's a dolphin fish. Mahi mahi, dorado. If you order dolphin on the menu, at least in this country, this is what you'll be served. Fun to catch, delicious to eat, very different from the mammal. The mammal has lungs, this has gills. The mammal is warm-blooded, this is cold-blooded. The mammal bears live young. This one lays eggs, so just completely different. But I think the source of the dolphin porpoise confusion is because people who fish call the mammals porpoises to clarify that they're not talking about the fish. So when when a fisherman says, "Oh, we got the dolphin pretty thick today," I know that they're talking about the mahi mahi, because if they were talking about the mammals, they would have called them porpoises. So That's contributes to the confusion. This is a harbor porpoise. It's the only species of porpoise that we have on the East Coast. I've been plying the waters of North Carolina for about 40 years. I've never seen a live one. We find dead ones, typically the month of February, typically Dare County. The southernmost one I've ever found was at Cape Lookout, and they've all been dead. So I've never seen a live porpoise in North Carolina. Many of the differences are well documented. The range is like, if you want to see porpoises, go to the Bay of Fundy up in Canada or Gulf of St. Lawrence in August, and there are a lot of porpoises there. In the wintertime, they tend to move south. And North Carolina is probably the extreme southern range. So most of what we see are dead juvenile porpoises in North Carolina. Much smaller and more triangular dorsal fin. They're smaller overall. They don't have a prominent beak or rostrum. The teeth are very different. A lot of things about their life are different. Age of sexual maturity and gestation period and things like that. Stephanie, our graphic whiz here at the museum, created this for me, which I love. And it shows biggest, furthest back of bottlenose dolphin. Overlaid on that is a harbor porpoise. And then, of course, the mahi-mahi in front to help clarify the difference. We recently installed at the Bonehenge Whale Center a bottlenose dolphin skeleton next to a porpoise skeleton to help understand the difference. And the porpoise teeth are very different. They're kind of flat and sort of like a spatula shape. They get thick at the ends and much smaller than a bottlenose dolphin's teeth, which are conical and larger. Both of these specimens are subadult females. But I just want to highlight these differences. I used to work at SeaWorld in San Diego in the 80s. And while I was there, some of the biologists went down to Chile and captured a group of Commerson's dolphins and brought them back to SeaWorld to display. And it was part of an experiment. They wanted to see if the public would pay money to see dolphins not do tricks or jump through hoops or take food, just be in captivity and swim. What they didn't know at the time was that 2 of the dolphins that they brought back from Chile were pregnant. So this is one of those Commerson's dolphins giving birth while I was there. What we would call a breech birth is normal in cetaceans. The head comes out last. So you see the tail coming out of mom's genital opening. And then 5 days later, this is that baby boy. This is mom's tail. That's mom's tail. And the boy, the photo doesn't show it very well, but I saw the tongue come out. And I think what happens, I think others agree, that the tongue is used to stimulate mom to squeeze, and this is how nursing occurs. Everything from a little harbor porpoise to a big blue whale gets most of the nutrition in the first year of life through nursing. They're mammals. And another mammalian feature that I have not mentioned is hair. And you could probably win a bet on this one. Whales have hair, and we don't see it. We don't see it, never see it in adults, but newborns. And this is a fresh, dead bottlenose dolphin. And I just wanted to show you this to show you the hair on the rostrum, and that's predictable. So yes, they have hair also, like other mammals. This is a newborn with a fin that is not distinct enough to identify probably, but some of the features of the newborns that we look for to try to estimate the birth week are these vertical light scars called fetal folds that are left over from the fetus being curled up in mom's uterus, and they last for several months to a year. They're very buoyant. It's hilarious. Every breath they take, half the body pops out of the water. They're darker. The dorsal fin sometimes is flopped over. This is probably several weeks old. I'm going to go back one. When we see this, we make a couple assumptions. We assume that the adult is a female, and we even make another assumption that the adult is likely the mom of this newborn. After 3 sightings, we accept the fact that yes, that probably is the mom. But identifying males can be tricky. Because sometimes they'll surface with a newborn occasionally. And how do you identify a male? And so this is a male. And this would be a dolphin's version of mooning me. And that's its anus and that's its genital opening. No question about it, it's a male because there's 2 separate openings, where in females it's 1 longer slit. And so there he is, and his dorsal fin's even in the picture. Oh, what a gift that is. So you may not care, but it was exciting to me where I could actually match it to a fin we had in our catalog and say, oh, wow, now we know that this one's a male. And otherwise, I can't tell you the males and females from out there. Just they're about the same size. Okay, this is the X-rated part of the show. What you think you're seeing is exactly what you're seeing. Dolphins mate belly to belly, they have no options. And what you're seeing is an erect penis of a male trying to gain access to a female, but she's not receptive. The males turn upside down, and if she were receptive, she would stay right side up and they could meet belly to belly. Copulation and presumably conception would ensue. But not tonight, honey, I have a headache, whatever. She's upside down and not receptive. Had she been receptive, it might have looked something like this. And she would have stayed right side up, and he would have been belly up, and they would have mated. And I'm guessing that I don't know for sure that that might be the other male that's associated with this one. It's hard to document in the wild. And so that we can never confirm the conception has occurred. Just can't do that in the wild. Questions or comments? Yes.
How long can they remain underwater for they need to?
A long time is 2 minutes.
Okay.
Navy experiments have pressed a healthy dolphin with 3-minute dive before surfacing. That's extreme. They really wanted to see what they could do. More typically, a breath, 10 seconds later, another breath, 10 seconds later, another breath, and then a deeper breath before a prolonged dive. That prolonged dive, unless they're really active mating or chasing fish or something, 3 breaths and then a 1-minute dive.
So I watch it all the time. So you'll see them and then bang, they're gone and you don't see them again.
Yeah, sometimes.
They're traveling.
Yeah, sometimes just after that terminal breath, they'll lift their tail or part of their tail out of the water. And right, yeah.
So I was wondering, yeah.
It sort of depends on their activity level, how often they need to breathe, just like us. So everything I've mentioned with their social structure, my wife put this together for me, and it demonstrates that. So let's start with moms and calves. As those calves reach adolescence, they leave mom. They're weaned, and they join mixed sex juvenile groups. Think middle school. And then, as they reach sexual maturity, the males pair up for life, as far as we can tell. The female, she's got a question mark there. We've not documented that a female has joined the moms and grandmoms and aunts and sisters, but that's what we think happens. That female might return, but it's not as a predictable relationship as, for example, this. And there's about a 12-month gestation period. And then moms and calves. So that's sort of a summary of the social structure I'm trying to present. Yes.
Right, so when you see a pot, why are they all together?
Yeah, it's a big. In bottlenose dolphins. Yeah, so in bottlenose dolphins, not family units like you'd see in killer whales, for example, where you would have the parents and the offspring and the grandparents. Again, no, they could be related, but it would be a maternal lineage, like the females with the young. And the males are with the male pairs somewhere else. Yes.
If they leave their moms and you say they go back, do they do that by sound? How do they find?
Give me a couple of years. They may not have answered that with the long-term great study in Shark Bay, Australia. How those females find it, could it be sound? One thing they've taught me, and I want to get back to your question if I didn't answer it, because I think it's fascinating to me. Their world is sound, much like ours is vision. They have eyes, but really their world seems to be sound. They have signature whistles, flowing sounds. I'm key. They use echolocation. It's more of a pulse sound, like sonar, to perceive the environment and things we don't understand. But again, I want to emphasize sound. Males' signature whistles is more like the moms than females. In one study, male signature whistles are more like the moms than females. So you mentioned, how do they find the moms acoustically? And the interpretation of these scientists is that since the males leave mom permanently, it doesn't really matter that they sound different because they're not going to confuse each other because they're not going to be together. But they think that the females return to mom in her group, and so the female sounds need to be and are actually very different from mom's. Hope I described that right. So that's some evidence that sound might be used to help at least distinguish the females from their moms acoustically. I hope that helped. Yes.
So Keith, are you saying when we see ponds of dolphins around here, that is most likely a whole bunch of ladies?
No, I see huge juvenile groups, and you have two. And they're rambunctious, they're precocious, they dart around really fast, and they're kind of small. Those are the biggest groups I see. And then it just other big groups, but not as big as what I just described, are a bunch of moms with a bunch of young. And one study by my wife actually has demonstrated that moms of similarly aged offspring hang out together. Well, that's kind of in our society too. So you know, they're sort of giving birth at the same time, and their offspring are about the same age. That's not as written as stone as the male-male relationships, but that's something you could be seeing as females with their offspring, and possibly at various ages. And then the males might be coming in, and it's hard to tell what the males are doing and who's who. But so it's, I mean, short answer, I really don't know. But I think he's a boat captain and tour leader, so I know he's seen a whole lot more than I have probably. You know, look at the size, and if they're all similarly sized, young and really active, especially late summer into September, October, I see a lot of juvenile groups, big ones. Hope that helps.
What's the average size of the pod?
In the estuary in the summertime, 6 to 10. The question was average size of a group of dolphins. A lot of variation. The biggest group sizes we see are used to be September, now it's October. Something's changing. I can't tell why. Keep the questions coming. This is fun. So yes.
Does their gestation have anything to do with where they travel this coming year?
Does the gestation have anything to do with where they travel or the way they do?
They last for 12 months. So
Yes, 12-month gestation period. So
they're moving around every 6 months. They,
so I don't know. In baleen whales, the gestation period is very tightly linked to their migrations, and humpback whales and right whales have gone south to give birth, mate. And when some are conceiving, others are giving birth. Bottlenose dolphin, 12-month gestation period. Could they be entering the estuaries or heading north or south to give birth? I just don't know. Yeah, we don't have any evidence for that. Yeah, I mean, I can predict some areas where, well, what I've seen as far as births go around here is usually, okay, tomorrow's April, or the next day's April. April, we start seeing dead babies on the beach, like the one I just showed you with the hair. That is predictable. April, in May, late April into May is when I start seeing the presumably healthy babies next to moms. And the first ones I usually see are in the ocean. And then I see that same mom with a baby that's a few weeks older in the estuary. So I'm wondering that as they're coming south, I'm really digging into your question. That's short answer, I know. As they're coming south, they give birth in the ocean, but they don't want to raise those young in the ocean. They go to the estuary, and there's some, a few hot spots around here, Middlemarsh, Newport River, where we see them. And why they're in there, I don't know if they're avoiding predators, seeking food. I'm not sure warmth is what they're seeking though. I think their challenge is dumping heat more than seeking. Okay. There we go. Oh, this was exciting. About a little more than 10 years ago. One of the ferry captains reported a dolphin swimming with a plastic bag over its head, or another one called and said, it's pushing around an inner tube. My gosh, this is an opportunity for a rescue, I thought. So I had to go to the water, got some volunteers. We went out, and this is what he was referring to. And yes, you see immediately. I didn't see it. I had to look at my camera to see what I was photographing. So there's no question about it. Veterinarians have studied this with me, and that's not a newborn that's died. That's an expelled fetus that they believe had not even taken a breath. And we've seen moms push around dead offspring, not every year, but pretty regularly in the spring. That's what you're seeing here. So that's the baby's blowhole, the right pectoral fin. Occasionally, we've collected the carcass of the baby to try to understand why it died. In this case, I didn't. It was going to be too challenging. It's also some people have some ethical concerns, which I share. So anyway, we didn't separate mom and babe here. Don't know what happened to the babe, but I do can tell you that mom had a distinct dorsal fin, and we documented her a year later with another baby. So I mean, she must have gone into estrus and gotten pregnant right after she lost that. Yes.
Is she, how long does she keep the baby and why? I mean, does she care? Is there a reason
For pushing around a dead baby?
for that picture? I mean,
So the question was, is there a reason for her pushing around the dead baby?
does she care or
Is there-
would there be another?
Or if she cares? I'm repeating this for the online audience. I don't know. I mean, there's clearly a bond and there's hormones raging, and I read in one of the Lewis and Clark expedition accounts that human moms would carry around their dead babies for a while. I don't know if it's part of the grieving process or not. I've seen, I've never seen the same presumed mom push around the same carcass over multiple days. But I could easily miss it. The most curious thing I've seen is a dolphin that I know was a male. No question about it, because he had been captured, tagged, and released. And he, one time I saw pushing around a stinking ball of flesh that I thought was a dead dolphin. And that was an oh wow to me. Short answer to your question, I don't know if anyone really knows. One thing that's not been documented is baleen whales have not ever been seen pushing around dead offspring. Many toothed whales have. This will just make you wonder, and wonder is a good thing. Yes.
You mentioned you haven't seen it for multiple days. Last year, I think beginning of the summer, just off of Oregon, the southern
Orcas.
The mom was pushing her babies, her dead baby, for 18 days.
I remember that.
Before they didn't see it anymore. And at least the thought was that sometimes when their calf comes out, to push them along and help them swim at the beginning. And that was the prevailing thought, not the fact, but at least the only thought that they had, trying to make it swim.
Okay, I go along with that. One thing I've noticed is that, in all but one case, these moms pushing around their, dead presumed offspring are not with a group. Or any other mom with an offspring would be with a group. So I'm thinking that they gotta make a decision, or it's made for them, to abandon the benefits of group living. Whether it's protection or seeking food or something, sacrificing all that to stay with this, what is ultimately becoming a rotting carcass. Yeah, like you wonder.
Mothers don't want to let them go.
All right, and I don't know what makes her decision, if it is a decision to eventually let it go. Like getting pregnant again, well, yeah, but of course that implies interaction with others. Yeah, anyway, I just want to show you that. Okay, I mentioned the melon. I mentioned the dependence on sound. If sound is so important, where are their ears? They don't have external ears. They don't have ears that are above the jaws, like any terrestrial mammal you can think of, like us. Their ears are where these lower jaws enter the skull. I don't have the ears installed in this one, but if you go to the auditorium, I do in the other one. The ears sit right here. And I think most people who are studying dolphin acoustics agree that most of their hearing is through their lower jaws. This has been tested experimentally as well. And the melon focuses and amplifies sound, much like a magnifying glass focuses and amplifies light. And that melon literally changes shape as it's making its sound. They don't have vocal cords. So if you go to SeaWorld and a dolphin opens its mouth to talk, it's doing that for one of two reasons. It was trained to do that because you and I, the tourists, will pay more money to see a cute dolphin talk, or it's begging for food. They don't need to open their mouths to make sound. That sounds like a dolphin. I'm squishing air under my tongue. Dolphins squish air between air sacs in the vicinity of the blowhole. And we believe that that is the source of most of the sound. And the melon changes shape to modulate it, focus, amplify the sound. This is a recording off of Shackelford Banks on a cool winter day of about 17 dolphins. They were doing some deep dives. I didn't see any fish, but I was just imagining down there. And I have an underwater microphone called a hydrophone. It's about a 20-second sound clip. And I want you to listen for whistles. Blowing sounds that we believe are signature whistles. I want you to listen for pulsed sounds, echolocation. Sometimes it sounds like a squeaky screen door or knocking. And then I think I got what some researchers call the Big Bang. It's always preceded by echolocation clicks, and it sounds like a distant gunshot or a cat gun. And that is believed is so focused, so powerful, it can kill or stun a fish. So at the risk of you falling sound asleep, I invite you to close your eyes and listen. And it's only about 20 seconds. I'll wake you up if you start snoring. But let's see what this sounds like. I hope it works. Wow. So I call that the Dolphins' greatest hit because every sound I've ever heard of any pretty much is in that short clip. And that's on the bonehead.org website. If you wanted to listen to it, you can make it your ringtone, whatever. But anyway, that's some of our locals. I just want to mention the collaborators with our Marine Mammal Stranding Network as recently as yesterday, when we got a call about that baby on North Fork Banks. I told you it usually starts in April. Oh, I didn't mention that. It started yesterday. So it was a newborn dolphin dead on North Fork Banks yesterday. We get the calls of all the dead, dying, or entangled marine mammals, which in North Carolina is a lot of diversity. We have 4 species of seals that we've documented, generally only in the wintertime. Manatees, but also lots of different cetaceans. Dead dolphin on Shackleford Bank. So we try to investigate every one, at least to confirm the species ID, the length, and sex. If it's very fresh, veterinarians and my wife Vicki, who leads the stranding network, does necropsies to learn more about the individual's life and death. In this case, this is a young dolphin that was wrapped up in fishing line from a reel. This is not a net, and the line it cut into the tail and the spinal cord. It just about cut its tongue off and into its lower jaw. So this is a horrible case, and it's not unusual. This is a different kind of monofilament fishing line. This is not from a reel. This is from probably a commercial gill net. These aren't bad people. They don't want to catch a dolphin. It's just a conflict. They haven't done anything illegal until they don't report it. I think any commercial fisher knows that if they, trap or kill a protected species, they need to report it. Maybe there's not much incentive to, but theoretically, that's how it should work. And this is the saddest story I have. I'll make it brief, but I want you to know about it. Roanoke Sound, dead dolphin on the beach. We went to get the carcass, and I'm going to show you a close-up of its head. And you don't need to be a scientist to figure out what's torturing this animal. Embedded in the skin, having displaced the teeth, cut very deeply, lots of swelling, lots of infection, is monofilament fishing line. When we were doing the necropsy, it's both of its flippers were entangled as well. This was not a recent entanglement. This animal had lived a long time. It was a very young dolphin, not even 2 years old. And when we were doing the necropsy, I said, wait, let's not take the line out. This is so important. It's a North Carolina problem. It appears to be getting worse, and maybe we can make a display out of it. So that line and that line are shown right here. After I prepared the skull and pulled it out of that stinky water that I used to get the flesh off, it was an oh wow moment, demonstrating both what I hoped and what I feared. This is something different. This isn't bone being cut by line. This is bone of a fast-growing young mammal growing around the entangling line over a long period of time that was slowly killing it. And that is this here. And after my talk, I take pictures, learn about it. This poster tells a whole story of that case. And I wanted just to present that to you as probably the most common cause of death that we can determine when we investigate these, is entanglement. This was an interesting case on 6th Street, downtown Morehead City, Calico Creek side. That was the lethal shark bite, but it had 2 other shark bites, one on the top of the tail near the end and one kind of near the anus. It was very fresh dead. And my coworker, Ben Wonderly, actually thought he saw this dolphin swimming around the night before. Someone reported it. And I picked it up and I saw the shark bite. And I took it to the seafood market. No, it's not going where you think it's going. Because Chris Conklin is so interested in sharks and dolphins, and I wanted to show it to him. And he said, Keith, can I help with the necropsy? This is really cool. And I said, well, we're going to do the necropsy now. And he couldn't close the store, so he couldn't join us. But he said, Keith, if you look for teeth. I said, dolphins have a lot of teeth. What are you talking about? He said, no, look in the shark bite for teeth. If you find a tooth, some sharks leave teeth and some don't. And if you show me the tooth, I'll identify what species of shark it was. So while all the veterinarians were digging around, the guts, I was looking for teeth. This is that left lower jaw. This is where I found a tooth stuck in bone, right in that crack. Further, there was a stingray barb stuck in a hole at the tip of the jaw. This poor dolphin died in pain, and now I'm going to try to, I hope I have. That is a tooth. There's no question about it. Great white shark, same as a white shark. White shark. Don't know if the dolphin got bitten in Calico Creek or how long the dolphin lived before it succumbed. But that was very exciting because white shark taking the bottlenose dolphin, as far as I know, had never been documented. And so now this is very clear. And that's the stingray barb that had entered right near the nerve entry. Yes, you must have been stung by a stingray once. I mean, a stingray barb sting hurts much more than the size of the barb would suggest. So anyway, I don't know. That's just this case. Entanglement. I've never seen an adult dolphin alive entangled. That's curious. They're always young, and it's particularly bad because the young ones are growing so fast. Like this one. This has a happier ending than you might predict, though. Actually, this is South Carolina. The good folks down there launched a rescue team with a fisher and some veterinarians. They captured the dolphin, took the line out. If they didn't, this dolphin would have died pretty soon. Each day, that line was getting tighter and tighter because it was growing fast. And they were able to cut it off and document that the dolphin was with other dolphins. And so the dolphin might not agree, but we consider this a success story. And we do keep trying. Our response to a lot of what I just shown you is to copy what Florida has done really well and build receptacles like this and putting on North Carolina beaches, docks, and piers where people fish. And it has they have signs trying to educate people that the beach or the ocean is not the best place for you to use fishing line. Yes.
You're saying these are set up in North Carolina, I haven't seen any of them.
Fishing piers, although I gave up on Oceana Pier, Emerald Isle Fishing Pier and Pier in Wrightsville Beach, huh? Yeah, I think they have two of them, at least by the last count. I was there.
They need some near the access points, and some people park and go fish from there.
Yeah, right. You make a good point. So they need someone, some near the access points. This is unfunded. This is like, if you think one of these are needed somewhere, those materials are about $250. And we're looking for someone not just to get permission to set it up and set it up. I will build them. But to monitor them so they don't just fill up with dirty diapers and baby bags. So my goal is not to put hundreds of these out. We have them in selected places where I know they're being monitored, and if they're not, we take them down. Radio Island has one. So we could do better. It's just yeah, I know. I need your thoughts. When I see one that's filled with bait bags and dirty diapers, that just breaks my heart because it's like it's not being cared for, and it's contributing to the problem. I do have one really cool story to tell you. There's this NC State graduate student. She's an engineering student, and she takes just Saturday. She picked up 155 pounds of fishing line that we've been collecting, and she has committed to making my receptacles out of the line we collect.
Wow.
I know, and that's just really exciting to me because then I don't have to place demand on new plastic when we make these. Anyway, so if you're passionate about this and you have a place where one could go, let's talk about it. But I really need, I count on volunteers to fund them, and you know, if ideally, I mean, Florida has raised enough money through their license plate program to fund the position, and if that person does a great job managing Florida's program. And that would be great for North Carolina, I believe.
Maybe I'll try to a way of contacting you. We might people know.
Yeah, but I think Barbie LeBrun and then Berlisle was collecting from the fishing pier. And I know they close for the winter, and as far as I know, she told me there are two out there.
Okay.
So
Well, that is where a lot of people to fish.
it is? Yeah.
So that's a good place. Yeah.
And I'll just,
Oh, I'm sure it's just.
yeah, well, it's more challenging than it might appear.
So. Doing surgery out on the gym to try to free, you know, bird, you don't know if they're gonna make it, it's a similar thing.
It is.
Birds-
Yeah, I'm hoping this helps. The rate of entanglements would suggest it's not enough. And I used to put them on the Oceana Pier, which I mean, I love that pier and the people there, and but twice the receptacle was thrown in the ocean, and the pier owner called me and said, hey, they just trapped it and it's in the ocean. I said, why do people do that? He said, they just do it, Keith. I can't understand it.
How do they clean it out?
The old couple ways, the bottom unscrews. And it falls out, or you can reach your gloved hands in there, or we have a little grabber thing that we sometimes grab.
And that, you
Volunteers, sometimes we separate the metal of the bait bags and the dirty diapers from the line. Quantify it, and now I'm saving it for this NC State grad student who's going to make my receptacles out of it. And I told her that the Duke graduate student said that it wasn't possible, and she rolled up her arm and she had a tattoo, where there's a woman, there's a way. Really get it done by a woman. And she said, you take what I make you and you parade it around Duke Stationary School, because it's gotta be done. So we'll see where that goes. I have confidence. He's really bright and dedicated. So did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Oh, the Emerald pier manager told me, he said, Keith, you can replace this, but I'm afraid it's just going to keep getting vandalized. And I said, what if I put it closer to the pier house? At first I asked, do you like this idea, or is it ridiculous to you? He goes, no, this is a great thing. It's a great idea. Now maybe closer to the pier house, but you should mount it a little higher. So why? He said, brace yourself. And this is why I don't put one there. So people stop urinating in it.
Oh.
Just the messenger. Anyway, we started this program in 2007, and this just shows you how many thousands of miles of fishing line we've collected. This is 500 miles, 1,000 miles. Yeah, we're well over 4,000 miles of line. I can't say that all of it would have ended up in the ocean or entangling things, but I know a lot of it would have, and so I hope it's helping. And just, you know, the fact that this many people would come to a talk like this is inspiring to me, and now a few more people know about this. So I hope it helps. I'm almost through. This is an interesting case. This is a dead dolphin floating in the Newport River, very fresh. And these are folks from UNC Wilmington, the Smithsonian, and NOAA, because it's just a high priority when we have a dead dolphin. Some people say, Keith, why are you in such a hurry? It's already dead. If we can get fresh tissue samples, we can learn so much more about bacteria and viruses and toxins and things like that. And these people are so dedicated, and they just traced out everything, look at organs and everything, and they found a stingray barb in the heart is what killed this dolphin. And it wasn't the barb entering that killed it, it was the scar tissue that had formed around the barb and blocked off the artery that eventually killed the dolphin. Since this case, we found 5 other stingray barbs inside dolphins, one inside of a lung. You know, and anyway, I just wanted to mention a different cause of death other than what's going on there?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like sometimes the most recent case, if you know where the NC State's Marine Lab is in Moorhead, CMAX, across from the hospital. We recently installed a bottlenose dolphin skeleton in there. That one had a barb inside the right lung. And we put the barb inside the skeletal display, and no one probably even sees it. But that case, I was at the necropsy, and the veterinarians put the tissue back together, and they could trace the track of the barb destroying tissue on the way to the lung. And it even grazed bone, and there was scar tissue on the bone. So I don't know over how much time. And you know, you might wonder, well, gosh, is a dolphin not aware of them, or? I mean, I don't know. What lapse of judgment would cause a dolphin to get stung by a ray?
We know that sharks eat rays. If there is not enough regular normal food for them, have they now switched to hunting and eating rays.
Okay, could a dolphin eat a ray? Please, don't go away, hold that thought. So anyway, that's the case of this one, stingray barb in the heart. I don't want you to lead you to believe this is typical. Most bottlenose dolphin stomachs I investigate don't have any plastic, but this is a very extreme case. And you can see a cigarette lighter, lens cap, pens, ring, hooks, various pieces of shell and plastic. Just an extreme case. This is one of the 2 live harbor porpoises that came ashore in North Carolina, and my friend Ari did the necropsy from UNC Wilmington and then Duke. And he found no food in the stomach of that porpoise up in Kerala, but he could actually read some of the candy wrapper labels, warheads, blow pops, nerds, things like that. And there was about 5 bird feathers. So, you know, if you're part of a beach sweep, I just want you to know that this isn't just for entertainment. I mean, it really can make a difference if we can clean up the beaches and the ocean, because a lot of this stuff does impact marine wildlife. I mean, these are a few examples. On a lighter note, this is a healthy dolphin eating, and it might be a mullet or something it can swallow whole. They don't tear apart big things and swallow chunks. They swallow their food whole. There's a mom and probably a yearling babe dolphin. Oh, and I just have a few fun photos left. No more gory stuff, I promise. These mullet are hoping to evolve into flying fish really fast. And I've never seen this here, but my friend Lee Torres photographed this in Florida, where it's typical, almost predictable, where dolphins swim around mullet and force them to jump, and other dolphins, they take turns waiting to catch the airborne fish. Interesting method of feeding. This is something I think I've seen in North Carolina, but it's been well documented in Bull Creek, South Carolina, where these photos were taken, where dolphins will actually coordinate acoustically to rush fish up a muddy marsh bank, grab them, and then slide back into the water. And so that's what you're seeing here. This maybe could be menhaden. I'm not sure what those are. The people who studied this said they will always be on the right side. They will never be on the left side. No exceptions. That's interesting.
On the right side.
Yeah.
What they're wanting to eat, the right side.
Huh?
The right side of what?
No, I mean, they're on their bodies. The dolphins come out of the water and they're always on their right side, like in these pictures.
And they don't.
Right. It's an asymmetrical behavior in the dolphins. This is a turning basin, might be a needlefish of some sort in the mouth of this dolphin. If you spend much time around here, you might see these cannonball jellies.
Yeah.
And you know, most years we see dolphins tossing it. We call it jellyfish frisbee. But it's not really. They don't throw it back and forth to each other. It's always one dolphin tossing it, chasing it around, and tossing it. And this one, the pigment on the mantle is actually stained the rostrum of the dolphin. I don't know why they do this. Oh, there's another.
Fun.
It looks like fun. It might be another reason, because if you get an opportunity to look at one of these really closely before it's disturbed, you will notice that it's not just a jellyfish. It is a whole community. And there are fish always around it. There are other fish in the mantle. And there's 1 or 0 arrow crabs in the mantle. So this one, I photographed, I scooped it up in a net, and I looked in the mantle. And there's that one crab, never 2, sometimes 0. And it looks like a triggerfish or a filefish or something inside. So maybe the dolphins are getting an appetizer. I don't know. I've never seen what it looks like in assuming the jellyfish, but they might be trying to get to the fish that accumulate around it. Okay, Captain. If you told me you saw this, I would have called you a liar. And this is in Taylor's Creek. And if you're not oriented, I just want you to relax your eyes and notice that's a ray, and it's belly up, and it's going in the dolphin mouth head first, And the subsequent blurry photos demonstrated that that whole thing went in the dolphin. I've seen them toss butterfly rays, but this is the first ingestion of a ray. Could that ray still have a barb on it? Could some of these injuries be occurring from a swallowed ray? Could what Mark's saying be right, that they're switching their diet or they're experimenting with something that could be lethal? I don't know. I wanted to show you that. Thanks for asking. It's like I put him here as prop, right? And a couple dolphins swim toward the boat. This is right off the museum's watercraft center dock. That's Duke Marine Lab in the background. Oh, it's a little boy. Anyway, couple dolphins in the air. Probably the original and the best surfers. It's about 6 dolphins in a wave here surfing. Bow riding. This is a shrimp trawler, and one of the fishers are enjoying the show. My volunteer Nelson took this picture on the bow of my boat. I love that picture. A couple bubbles coming out of the blowhole. Tail walking, not just a SeaWorld trick. We don't see it that often, but occasionally they hop up on their tail and do a few kicks and then do a belly flop. Long enough for me to get a slightly out of focus picture. And I just want to give a shout out to the organizations and the volunteers associated with these organizations. We all depend on each other. This isn't just a courtesy thank you. We really recognize that this isn't one person, one institution project. There were strandings, live sightings, collaborating up and down the coast. Really, it just enhanced in every way by all the organizations that contribute. So it's a heartfelt shout out to all these organizations and the people associated with them. And I've heard it's on Facebook, so it must be true. If you have one of these on your car, not only will you look younger and sexier, your car will go faster and last longer. And the Friends of the Maritime Museum gets about $10,000 a year out of from the proceeds of those of us that protect wild dolphins license plates on our cars. And so I just encourage you to consider that, and it helps. It's a terrific fundraiser, and it's the only money we can pretty much count on. It is through the license plate program. You know, we do get some donations, but this is something we can count on. So consider that if you're a North Carolina driver. In the sunset photo, I just want to mention the Bonehead Whale Center. This was built by volunteers. This had the feel of a community barn raising. It's over at the museum's Gallant Channel property. And even the general contractor was a volunteer. Took about a year to build. They put me in charge. And it's more of a workshop. We study and build skeletal displays. This weekend we have an open house, and then the Maritime Museum throughout this year is going to have special trips on the bonehenge.org website. I get all the texts and the emails, and if you want to stop by, sometimes we can arrange a visit, but we don't allow walk-ins. But a lot of the work that I show here is created in the Bonehenge Whale Center. And that's what it looks like on the inside. Oh, we got a little silly with this one. On the street side of the building, on a second floor window, we put a bottlenose dolphin skeleton. But first, we painted the entire skeleton in glow-in-the-dark paint. And John's putting the final touches on the installation. And I mounted a black light on the window frame, and it's on a timer. And so, probably not worth a special trip, but if you happen to be in the neighborhood after dark, you can go there and see a dolphin blow out the window. That's what it looks like at night. Where can you see that? And yeah, that's oh. You hung in there beautifully. No one walked out. Thanks for your appreciate the good questions and your interest. And I'm going to turn on some lights, and if you want to, some of my favorite books about dolphins I put out, and some of the specimens I mentioned are here. And if you want to investigate the oils a little deeper, feel free. And yeah, thanks.